am joined today with my co-host, Edward Cole, alongside our special guest and co-host as well, KSRN one and only Earl Burnett. How are you guys?
Hey, I'm good. You got the shoe on the other foot now, huh? I gotta be prepared. You gonna throw some stuff at me now, so I'm good.
Yes, I am. A little change of roles now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the roles are reversed.
I feel so vulnerable right now.
Today we'll be talking NFL. We'll be talking trades. Today was the trade deadline, but you know what? Also, what was today? Election day.
Yeah, it's still going down. I think that's going to be going on for a long period of time now. I mean, there's no sure-cut winner, or is there? Did I miss something?
No.
Yeah, it looks like it can go for a few weeks. The way they talk about counting every ballot. I don't know, man. That's going to be crazy. We're definitely not going to get a winner tonight, that's for sure.
Yeah, they may be counting all the way up until the inauguration.
Who knows? But
and checking every trash can. Trash can.
And at the same end, with the NFL and the trades, some came out winners and some that were not such great winners.
Right.
So we have a lot that happened, and then just going to recap a little bit of what we saw over the last couple of days leading up to the trade deadline. Avery Williamson, linebacker, went to the Steelers from the Jets, from a losing team to a winning team. Baltimore Ravens acquired pass rusher Yannick Ngakoue. I do not know if I said that correctly. I'm bad with some pronunciations. Not always great. Sorry if I chopped that one up. Seattle Seahawks acquired Carlos Dunlap from the Cincinnati Bengals, sending Jay Finney away. Dolphins, Isaiah Ford, one of Ed's, I think was one of his favorites here, to the Patriots for a 2022 seventh round pick. They also acquired running back DeAndre Washington from the Chiefs for a sixth round pick and 2021 seventh round pick. The Chargers, Desmond King, another one out there of the talks for today, to Titans for sixth round draft pick. The Saints swapped the conditional fifth round pick and linebacker Kiko Alonso for 49ers linebacker Quan Alexander are some of the transactions that occurred leading up to the trade deadline. So this deadline for this year for the trades was not what was expected for many of us, for all of us.
Right.
We have the devil, as PLR likes to call it. You know, he's roaming around. COVID-19 some have not been so lucky to avoid it, and that's what I see. I'll get your guys' take. What held a lot of the teams to not want to make trades? Because there's the testing, there's the traveling, it's going to put them in downtime. Is it worth it? And I think that this was one of the major effects on the trade deadline. Is it something that we're going to see trades happening more once the season comes to an end? We saw a lot of trades just happening for round picks, not as much players, and we didn't see those blockbuster trades.
Right.
Earl, I'm going to lead off with you. Talk to me. What was your take on this unusual, unique trade deadline for 2020?
Well, it definitely has to start with COVID-19, and that's what this whole thing is wrapped around. When you talk about getting a major deal done with a marquee player, the main thing you're talking about is keeping that player in the following season, and not knowing what the salary cap's going to be, and not knowing where, what's going to be going on from a players and player association, collective bargaining agreement. Who knows all these things that are going to be changing as they go. It's kind of hard to put put your value and your money into something that you don't know where it's going, especially to a player that's, let's say, like a JJ Watt. If we get a JJ Watt, we don't know if he's going to stay, and we don't know if he wants, if he'll re-up. So COVID-19 controlled pretty much all of this whole deal, especially when you're talking about the following season. This year, teams are just getting guys that are just filling little spots that are, some backup roles, some starter roles, but for the most part, when you have a guy that you're not sure if you're going to be able to pay him and keep him for the following year, you don't want to give up assets. And assets in this draft coming up next year, it's going to be pretty vital for these teams because COVID-19 has wiped out pretty much everything right now. So I would imagine it's all because of going forward for the following season, not this season.
You're right, Earl. COVID has done a lot of things, done a lot of damage to this league, just a lot of damage to just in general. I mean, just as far as human life is concerned, but we're talking NFL. I think it really slowed teams down as far as what they were wanting to do. Now, if we were in a perfect situation and there was no COVID, now I think there would have been a lot more deals today.
I do too.
Today,
yeah, I do.
There would have been more, but teams are just leery. They're leery of actually pulling the trigger and actually making the deals that they wanted to make, like Green Bay Packers with Will Fuller. There was so much talk about possibly Will Fuller going to the Green Bay Packers, or possibly maybe a Stephon Gilmore to the Seattle Seahawks deal.
Don't say that.
That could have went down.
Don't say that.
I would have loved to have seen
Don't
that.
say that. Don't say that.
No.
Stephon Gilmore to the Cardinals was I want to see go down, not to the Seahawks, but to the Cardinals. We should have made a deal like that, man. We should have made a deal like that because we don't know Patrick Peterson's situation. We know for sure what he's throwing out there is a little like, oh, he might not be coming back next year. So why not get a guy that'll fill that spot? I thought we should have made that move today, but we don't do those type of moves, man. We just don't.
It's just crazy times.
JJ Watt too.
Oh yeah. JJ is, I don't know. First of all, is JJ actually playing like JJ right now? Has anybody seen the actual J.J. Watt show up? Because I haven't seen him. I see this guy that's kind of a shell of himself and kind of wondering, okay, this team sucks. Do I want to put all my effort in what this team is throwing out? And he doesn't look the same to me. But I think if he had gotten a new spot, a new change of scenery, and of course, the main ingredient, a winning team, if he had went on, then I think we would see the same JJ. But his contract is going to be way too much for teams to take on right now, especially with that COVID-19 thing leering over their heads. Like, is this guy going to come here and is he going to stay here? Or is it just for this half a season?
And the relationship between him and Bill O'Brien had deteriorated where it was just so bad that I'm sure he didn't really want to play for Bill O'Brien.
Right.
And that would affect his game day process and how he would plan to get ready for every game. And he's like, do I really want to go out here? We're a 1-6 football team. I don't like my head coach. We're not vibing right now. Right. This team is terrible. Right. Why do I want to give my all for a team that's a losing team right now? And my head coach, we have no sense of direction. We don't know where we're going as far as the Texans organization is concerned. And I think that had a lot to do with the way J.J. Watt played this year. And of course, he's never been completely healthy like he's been in his earlier years. Of course, he's been banged up so much because he plays the game so hard, and just injuries were a part of his career as it comes down to the last couple of years. So that probably had a lot to do with J.J. Watt's play as well. I
want to go ahead and get your take on what was your biggest surprise and what was the biggest disappointment of what we saw. A small movement. We didn't see too much as we expected, but what were your takes on those two? Your surprise and your disappointment, Ed? I
don't think it's a surprise. I like Yannick Ngakoue. That's how you pronounce his name, Yannick Ngakoue, who went to the Baltimore Ravens. His name is hard to pronounce. I don't blame you, Joe. That's a hard name to pronounce. Yeah. But to add a guy like him, what he did in Jacksonville when he was there, he was a major force defensively. And for the Baltimore Ravens, it's a move they make. Like they brought in Calais Campbell a couple years ago. It's deals that they make to make that defense that much better. They're already the 7th ranked defense. Now you add in Ngakoue. Mm-hmm. This kid, I believe one year he had 13.5 sacks in one of his best years, Earl, down in Jacksonville. So if they can get that kind of production from Ngakoue to add to that defense, man, the Baltimore Ravens are going to be that much stronger. But as far as my not a big surprise, but what I liked was the New England Patriots adding Isaiah Ford, a wide receiver from the Miami Dolphins. They haven't made a trade with the Dolphins since Wes Welker back in 2007. So trades between the Dolphins and the Patriots don't happen.
That is weird, huh?
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, you would think that would never happen.
13 years,
right? You think that would never happen.
They don't trade in between.
No division should trade with each other. No, like, wait a minute, I'm not going to shoot my own toe off. What are you talking about?
But the Patriots have no wide receiver. The Patriots have no wide receiver with more than 275 receiving yards. Wow. Julian Edelman was their highest wide receiver as far as yardage, but of course he's out with a knee injury. He's had knee surgery, so Julian Edelman's out. He's on injured reserve, so they had to get somebody for Cam Newton to throw to. So they bring in Isaiah Ford, this young man from Miami, 18 catches for 184 yards this year. So he's averaging 10.4 yards per catch. So they need something desperately in their passing game, Earl, because they're 30th in the league in passing yards. Only 192 yards of offense. Wow. That's primarily one of the reasons why they're 2-5, outside of the fact that so many guys opted out of COVID and Cam got COVID, and he hasn't been the same since.
Right. For me, when it comes down to the best moves, there's not really that many out there to start with, but I'm going to go with one that happened prior to, of course, before the deadline, maybe a month before the deadline, the best move out there. And I think the Detroit Lions going to trade for Everson Griffin makes them a team that's at 3-3 right now, who think they think they're competing. They think they could be a playoff team. And so getting that guy that can come in and do a rush and be on their pass rush right now, going up against the quarterbacks they go up against in that division, especially Aaron Rodgers mainly, of course. But I think that's a good move for a team that thinks they're competing and they can get some pass rush going. And the Lions made a good move in that aspect to me. The cheaper guy still has a motor. He came from a losing team to a winning team now, and so you got his motivation is really high. So hey, that's a good move. As far as my disappointment would be two teams I'm disappointed in, and they both didn't get wide receivers. I thought the Ravens should have got outside wide receiver, and I thought the Packers should have got Aaron Rodgers another outside wide receiver. I mean, they were out there for the taking. I mean, Will Fuller, there were a couple other guys that were out there. Alshon Jeffrey would have been perfect for the Packers. I mean, man, he needs a restart. His career done went down tubes right now, being with Carson Wentz. So I would imagine if he would got a new start somewhere, especially with an Aaron Rodgers, his career would have been, man, it would have came back to life. But I would have loved to have seen Lamar get an outside target, because they're you talking who's 32nd last in throwing to receivers. The Ravens are 30th in throwing to wide receivers. They only got 58 receptions and 737 yards, which is ridiculous when you got a guy like Lamar Jackson and you're sitting at 5-1. We're now 5-2 now, but wow, why didn't they get him an outside guy? Because they throw to the tight end way too much, and they don't have anybody on the outside. So I would have loved to have seen them get him an outside guy. They have Dez Bryant sitting in the wings, but we don't know if Dez Bryant's going to be that guy anymore. So I would have loved to have seen the Ravens go after it, and I would love to see the Packers get Aaron Rodgers another guy on the outside.
I was really surprised that the Packers did leave that one alone and decided not to do anything with it.
Exactly.
So the Packers they can come on top and benefit from it. But what another surprise and a little bit of a disappointment, or two of those, is the others are Arizona Cardinals is one of them, and Dallas Cowboys. Big surprise for them not to really not do anything, and right now they're hurting. And it would have been a great benefit for them if they would have acquired someone to help in getting those wins. Right now, instead of getting better, it's getting worse for the Cowboys. Ed?
Go ahead, Earl. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. I mean, for the Cowboys, if you talk about the Cowboys, they're not in a position right now where they're trying to win now. Their season's pretty much done. So for them to make any move at the deadline, it would have been to try to get to stockpile picks. That would be the only reason why they would, make a move. Outside of that, I think it was cool they didn't make a move, because what are they going to do? What are they going to do? Get somebody that wants to come to a team that's going nowhere? I mean, for the most part, their next move is going to be the draft. Their next move is getting draft picks. If they couldn't get anything back draft pick wise, then I think it was wise for them to sit and do nothing. But they could have moved some people and got some draft picks. That's why you're right about them not making a move. They could have moved some people and stockpiled some picks, but they didn't do that.
Especially with a lot of these trades being draft picks, if they didn't acquire someone.
Oh yeah, you get some draft.
Get that benefit.
A lot of draft capital.
Draft picks in there.
Yeah, you would have got a lot of draft capital. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, look at Aldon Smith. I thought for sure, man, the Seahawks made a call for him, and I'm like, no, please don't make that deal, please. but they didn't. Dallas held, but they want to keep Aldon Smith. But I think the Cardinals and teams should have been making calls to them. And I think if they were doing the right thing for that team, because remember, the Cowboys are only rebuilding on their defense and their offensive line. Everything else outside of that is fine. Their offense is still dynamic. So you rebuild that defense,